can be rather confusing to know how to mount the timber. Here we'll talk about a couple of different methods that you can use to mount the timber onto a lathe. At some stage in turning a bowl, you will need to use a 4-jaw self-centering chuck. This allows the timber to be securely mounted on the lathe for finishing it off, but more about that later. There are two main ways in which the bowl blank can be attached to the lathe. First method is to either use a tenon, as in this example where you have a foot coming from the bottom of the bowl that you can then grip for turning the base and the outside. Or you can have a mortise where you're cutting a recess into the base. My preference is a mortise, as the tenon will be removed later or become the bowl's foot. While the mortise can remain as part of the bowl as it provides more design variation for the foot without any extra work. Also, if you use a tenon, you'll have to remove this later and thus reduce the height of the bowl. Secondly, the bowl needs to be reversed following the creation of either that mortise or tenon, so you can shape the outside and also move to the inside of the bowl. With the mortise or tenon made, the bowl is reversed and attached into the 4-jaw chuck for the continuous creation of the bowl's interior and rim. Back to mounting the blank. It needs to be mounted from the top, so the method of securely gripping the blank can be made in the bottom, that is, that mortise or tenon. Once this is done and the bottom is shaped, I can then reverse the piece and mount it in the chuck to shape the inside and the top. There are two methods to secure the top of the blank: a faceplate or a screw chuck. A faceplate is supplied in the package when you purchase a lathe and is the most secure method for mounting a blank to start turning a bowl. When it comes to working with large or abnormal pieces of timber, the faceplate is the most secure, dependable connection. A faceplate makes a secure mechanical connection between the lathe and the wood blank using screws. The hole in the faceplate needs to match the thread on the spindle of the lathe, and this restricts the availability of aftermarket faceplates. There is no insert to match a faceplate to the spindle like there is with a chuck. A good rule of thumb for sizing a faceplate is to use about 1/3 the diameter of the bowl blank. The screws to secure a faceplate to a bowl blank need to be the proper size for both the timber as well as the faceplate. In this example, you can see that the screw is falling right through the hole with a lot of movement. It's the incorrect size for this particular faceplate. A more correct size would be a number 12 gauge screw, which is going to sit quite nicely into that hole and provide the best security in this instance. Worm screw, or the screw chuck as it is more commonly called, is an effective option for mounting the wood on the lathe and quickly and securely turning it. It is held in a 4-jaw chuck, and one of these is supplied with every Nova chuck. It's important that you tighten it from both sides due to the mechanical makeup of the chuck. The screw chuck, as the name implies, is a screw that is used to attach wood to the lathe in a single point. The blank needs to be flat. The screw is designed to bring the timber onto the jaws of the chuck. You need to find the centre of the blank in order to drill a hole to accept the screw chuck. The size of this hole is quite essential. The drilled hole that is too small will make it difficult to attach or remove the blank from the lathe, while too large a hole will allow the screw chuck to slip in the hole, making the bowl blank spin against the headstock. To find the right size drill bit, place the drill bit behind the screw chuck and look for the protruding threads. The drill size should be similar to the screw chuck shaft using threads. I use a 21/64 bit for hardwood and 5/16 for softwood. The 4-jaw self-centering chuck, as the name implies, has 4 concentric jaws on it that all move together when they're actioned through the chuck key. So in this manufacturing process, they not only have cut the jaws out of a single piece, they are also numbered. In this example, I'm showing number 2 jaw on the chuck, and on the jaw itself, there is also a number 2. These need to align up. You should always put the numbers together when attaching the jaws to the chuck. If I was to take the jaws all the way out, it's no longer a circle. So if you're gripping from either the outside or the inside, you only have a few points of contact, not the entire area. Now let's cut a mortise. I'll be basically using a parting tool and a skew chisel for this process. In the next video, I'll talk about the bowl gouge and its use. Thank you for watching, and happy and safe turning.